Well, this has been quite the interesting situation. We got our classic summoning scene. We're going to be going through the night of the third evening. This will be our first encounter with Saber, our introduction to the church, and finally, possibly, our first sight of Berserker. Let's see how things go. I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be quite the fun time. We have only a little bit. We've just started Evansville. I've seen the movies. I'm really excited to see what kind of extra details they hand out to us. So I feel like one of the strongest benefits, again, of these visual novels is that they actually add something. Sometimes I feel like the manga or the light novel doesn't really add or even takes away from it due to the, sometimes the visual aspect of, say, the anime or the movie is actually adding more than you're losing. In this case, I don't think so. This is pretty freaking awesome. So let's get right into this. The girl stares at me emotionlessly with her jewel-like eyes. Classic line. I think this is one of those lines where the first time you see it, you just remember it. Every single time I've seen this, I've remembered this exact scene. This is probably what they call a classic scene. This specifically. And of course associated with this line of dialogue. Like, the first time you see this, you don't need to see this in the visual novel. You don't need to... You can see this in the anime. You see this scene and you remember it. They've done a really good job. They did a really good job with it here. The setup leading to it. The framing of the picture. It all comes together nicely. Especially with, like, the shock, Shiro's shock at being murdered and healed from near certain death. His position on the ground. Everything about this picture is, like, immediately memorable. I really like what they did with it. Even under the slightly different aesthetic that is the visual novel, this scene is perfectly recreated in both Ufotable and Studio Dean's anime adaptations. Alright, let's get back to... Are you my master? She says in a valiant voice.
Master.
I only repeat back her words. I don't know who she is or what she's talking about. All I know is that this small girl is the same kind of being as the man outside. That makes her infinitely more competent at fighting than you, Shiro. The girl says nothing and just stares at me silently. How can I put this? The figure in front of me is so special that I forget the situation, that the man outside could come and attack at any second. It feels like time has just stopped around me. The fear of death has disappeared and only the girl fills my vision. She speaks again. The instant I hear the words, master and servant, a pain shoots through my left hand. It's like a hot iron has been placed on my hand. I grab my left hand instinctively. That must have been the signal as the girl quietly nods her lovely face. Even I have some knowledge of magic. I understand what that word means. But the girl doesn't answer me and looks away with the same grace she had when she nodded. She looks at the door of the shed. There stands the man, his lance ready in his hand. Oh no, we are not skipping scenes. She moves faster than I can think. The knightly girl leaps out of the shed without hesitation. I get up and follow the girl, even forgetting the pain in my body. There's no way that girl will be a match for him. Even armored like that, she's a girl smaller than me. My words are silenced by the sound. I can't believe my eyes. This time, my head really goes blank. It really goes blank. Goes blank. The sound of weapons. The moon is hidden behind the clouds, and the yard has returned to its original darkness. In it, sparks are born from steel hitting steel. The lance-wielding man wordlessly attacks the girl who jumped out of the shed. But the girl parries the blow of the lance and knocks away all following attacks, driving the man back with every blow. I can't believe it. The girl called Saber is overpowering that man. The battle has begun. What happened between me and him earlier wasn't a battle. A battle is a fight between two people who can kill each other. Whatever the difference in skills, if each has a way to kill the other, you can call it a battle. Their fight is a battle in that sense too. The man's lance that I couldn't even see is thrown with even more power. But the girl parries it with the thing in her hands and closes in on the man. The man retreats a bit. He holds his lance vertically to protect his ribs as the girl goes for them. For a moment, the man's lance glows. It was a blow like an explosion, and I guess it really was one. The instant the man blocks the thing the girl's holding, the lance in his hand glows as if electrified. The man, and even I, can tell what that is. That is a force of magical energy so strong that it's visible. In each of the girl's blows is a terrible amount of magical energy. That outrageous amount of magical energy is penetrating the opponent's weapon just by touching it. Such a thing, it would take such force to block it. If you think of the man's lance as an accurate sniper rifle, the blows of the girl are like those of a powerful shotgun. Every time the girl swings, the yard is filled with light. But that isn't what's overpowering the man. The man complains while avoiding the girl's fierce attacks. The girl doesn't answer, but only attacks even more with the thing in her hands. Yeah, he's just complaining. Of course, Lancer complains about her hiding her weapon. The man retreats, with not even a chance for a counterattack, because the girl's weapon is invisible. As he cannot sense her range, it would be careless to attack recklessly. Yes, it is invisible. The girl definitely has something in her hand, but as you can't see what shape it is, nor how long it is, you can't tell anything about it. Perhaps it's totally invisible, as it does not show up even when sparks fly off of it. The man must be having a hard time defending against it, as his moves aren't as sharp. And the girl lets out a voice for the first time. She swings her weapon with more fury. A storm of swings without pause. The flying sparks remind me of a blacksmith hitting iron. The lance-wielding man blocks them, clucking his tongue. I must say, I admire his skills even though he tried to kill me. The man is blocking invisible blows, watching only the opponent's arms and legs. But that's it. You only need to beat down someone who's gone defensive. As if to say so, the girl steps even closer to the man and delivers a blow with all her might, as if smashing him down. He must see this as his opportunity as the man disappears. No, he jumped back, making it look like he disappeared. The girl's blow cuts through the air and destroys the ground, kicking up dust. The blow, swung as a final one, was easily dodged. I can tell even from a distance. I don't know about the careful blows from before, but such a big blow won't be able to touch the man. Even that man's body must have been straining under all those attacks. But he suppressed it for an instant and jumped away. As if this blow will determine the victor. The man who jumped back several meters jumps as soon as he lands. As if reversing his retreat, he jumps at the girl. In contrast, the girl still has her sword in the ground. That opening is irrevocable. The red lance returns in less than a second, and the girl twirls her body with the sword still in the ground. So the contest lasts less than a second. The man sees his mistake and tries to hold back, while the girl uses her whole body to execute her blow. The man, blown away, and the girl who blew him away both seem discontent. They each launched their blows to kill the other. Even if they allowed them to escape immediate danger, they were worthless. Their distance opens. The two stare at each other silently.
どうしたランサー止まっていては僧兵の名が泣こうそちらが来ないのなら私が行くが
わざわざ死にに来るかそれは構わんがその前に一つだけ聞かせろ貴様の宝具それは剣か
The man glares as if staring right into her heart.
さあどうかな旋風かもしれぬし双剣かもしれぬいやもしや弓かもしれんぞランサー
Who knows? It could be a bow. I mean, I'm the saber class, but we don't know if saber class actually uses swords yet.
抜かせセイバー
Perhaps it's really funny for him. The man, the one called Lancer, lowers his lance. It looks like he's indicating he doesn't want to fight anymore. The girl is puzzled by Lancer's action. But I know that stance. It was used in that fight a few hours ago in the schoolyard. It's the fatal move that was supposed to have ended the show.
ついでにもう一つ聞くがなお互い初見だしよここらで分けって気はないか
He's asking for a
悪い話じゃ
draw.
ないだろそらあそこでほうけているお前のマスターは使い物にならんし俺のマスターとて姿を晒せねえ大ふぬけときたここはお互い万全の状態になるまで勝負を持ち越した方が好ましいんだが
断るあなたはここで倒れろランサー
そうかよたくこっちはもともと様子見が目的だったんだぜサーバントが出たとあっちゃ長居する気はなかったんだが
Seems like the air around them distorted. Lancer lowers his stance. A chill runs through the air at that moment. It's exactly like back then. The magical energy rumbles in a whirlpool centered on that lance.
ホーグ
The girl readies her apparent sword and glares at the enemy in front of her. The girl, facing the enemy, knows better than I how dangerous he is.
じゃあなその心臓もらい受ける
The beast jumps. Lancer instantly appears in front of the girl as if he teleported and thrusts his lance at the girl's feet. It was a bad move, even to my eyes. With the lance already lowered, it wouldn't be effective to aim low at the girl. To prove my point, the girl jumps over the lance and moves forward to slash Lancer away. At that moment, with words themselves charged with magical energy, the lance thrust at the girl's feet rushes towards her heart. Her body rises into the air. The girl is driven up into the air by the blow of the lance, and she lands on the ground. She's bleeding. The girl, who hasn't even received a scratch so far, is bleeding badly from her chest.
呪詛いや今のは因果の逆転か
I'm surprised too. No, since I saw it from a distance, I can tell better than her that the blow just now was a strange one. The lance was definitely aimed at her feet, but it suddenly changed its course, moving strangely in an impossible direction and pierced the girl's heart. But the lance itself has not grown or bent. It looks so natural, it makes one think the lance was already in her heart, and for that reason, it's strange. It's not as simple as the lance changing its course and piercing her heart. The lance did not change its course, but changed the means so that the result would be so. The lance thrust with the name carried the result of piercing her heart as a premise. In other words, the process and the result were reversed. As long as there was the result of the lance piercing her heart, the course of the lance was merely something added later to prove the fact. An evil thorn that breaks through all defenses. A lance that pierces the heart, and every time it's used, a weapon that determines your fate just by its use. How can anyone block such a ridiculous attack? However the enemy tries to dodge it, the lance will pierce their heart without fail. That's why this move is fatal. A cursed lance that always pierces the opponent with one thrust. But the girl has evaded it by a small margin. She is wounded, but it was not a fatal blow. In a sense, her actions were more impossible than the lance. The instant the lance was thrust, she turned and jumped back with all her might, as if she knew this was going to happen. Either she had incredible luck or enough divine protection to nullify the curse of the lance. Either way, she avoided a fatal blow and sullied the lance's name. That poor lance. Name's been permanently sullied. The girl catches her breath. The blood that was running so much has stopped, and even her stabbed wound is healing. Man, poor Lancer can't catch a break. It's like his noble phantasm never gets a kill. It's supposed to be impossible to miss. It's like the most successful, theoretically the most straightforward and most successful noble phantasm, and it fails every time. Like, it failed to kill her here. It fails in Unlimited Blade Works. And you know what? Maybe it'll fail again. We'll find out. We'll just have to keep reading. I just feel bad for Lancer. It's like, it failed again. Alright. Supposed to be so good, why does it always fail? I guess that's extraordinary. I knew she wasn't normal, but still, that's too strange. Like her skills to fight against Lancer, like the incredible magic in each of her blows, and like her body that heals by itself, this girl clearly surpasses Lancer. But that was only up to now. Even if it's healing, her wound is deep. If Lancer attacks her now, she'll be defeated without even being able to defend herself. But with this overwhelming advantage, Lancer doesn't move. He glares at the girl, grinding his teeth so hard that I can hear it. A voice that seems to echo from the ground.
ケイボルク。オミはアイルランドの光の巫女か。
Lancer frowns. Well, his name has been given out. His hostility disappears and he clucks his tongue in annoyance.
ドジったぜ。こいつを出すからには必殺でなけりゃやばいってのにな。まったく有名すぎるのも考えものだ。
The pressure goes away. Lancer doesn't even attack the wounded girl and simply turns his back and moves to the edge of the yard.
己の正体を知られた以上、どちらかが消えるまでやり合うのがサーバントのセオリーだが、あいにくうちの雇い主は臆病者でな。槍が交わされたのなら帰ってこい、なんて抜かしやがる。
Well, that's a throw if I've ever seen one. Apparently he could win, but he just walks away.
ああ、追ってくるのなら構わんぞ、セイバー。ただし、その時は決死の覚悟を抱いてこい。
With one bound, Lancer easily jumps over the wall and disappears.
待て、ランサー。
The wounded girl starts running to pursue the enemy.
バカかあいつ。
I run through the yard with all my strength. The girl will go after him if I don't stop her instantly. But there was no need for that. When the girl tries to jump over the wall, she clenches her chest and stops. Must not have fully healed. I run to her and stare at her. No, I have tried to approach her to call out to her, but I forget about it the instant I come near her. To put it simply, everything about her is absurd. Now that I'm near her, I can tell that the shining armor she wears is really heavy. The old-fashioned cloth is smooth and a vivid blue. That isn't what fascinates me. The girl, who seems to be a few years younger than me, is beautiful. The golden hair, lit by the moonlight, is finely textured as if sprinkled with gold dust. The face, with some sign of naivety, has elegance, and her white skin looks soft. I can't call out to her because I'm fascinated by her beauty, and also for another reason.
なんで。
Because seeing the girl fighting and getting hurt somehow made me mad. All the while I'm fascinated with her, the girl has her hand on her chest. But that ends quickly. The girl lets her chest go and looks up as if the pain has gone away. She stares directly at me. I'm not sure how I should talk to her, but I notice something about her.
傷がなくなってる。
Even though it missed her heart, that lance stabbed her in the chest, but she's unscathed. I've heard of healing magics, but I didn't see her using anything like that. That must mean she automatically heals even when she's wounded. Then my brain switches gears. This is no time to be fascinated by her. She's a strange being. I can't let my guard down until I know what she is.
お前、何者だ。
I take half a step back and ask her, "Who are you?"
何者も何もセーバーのサーバントです。あなたが私を呼び出したのですから確認をするまでもないでしょう。
セイバーのサーバント。
はい。ですから私のことはセーバーと。
Please call me Saber, he replies without hesitation. Her tone is polite yet gentle, and just hearing it makes my head go blank. What am I getting excited about?
そうか。変な名前だな。
I hide my burning face with my hand and reply really stupidly. I don't know what else to say. It is a strange name, Shiro. Though, you could probably say something less blunt? I wouldn't know of any such thing to say. Since I asked her name, isn't it natural for her to introduce herself? In that case, it would be impolite to stay silent like this.
俺はシロ。エミやシロって言ってこの家の人間だ。
What am I doing? Are my answers getting stupider? But she told me her name, so I should answer too. I know I'm confused right now, but I have to be polite no matter who this is. The girl, Saber, just stares at me without changing her expression.
いや違う。今のはなしだ。聞きたいのはそういうことでなくて、つまりだな。
分かっています。あなたは正規のマスターではないのですね。
Correct, we are not a forum master.
それでもあなたは私のマスターです。契約を交わした以上、あなたを裏切りはしない。そのように警戒する必要はありません。
Crap. I can hear her words, but they make no sense to me. All I know is that she's calling me with a ridiculous word like master.
それは違う。俺マスターなんて名前じゃないぞ。
それでは素人。ええ。私としてはこの発音の方が好ましい。
As soon as she says my name, I think my face lit up on fire. Shouldn't you call someone by their last name on a first meeting? Well, maybe if you're Japanese.
ちょっと待て。 なんだってそっちの方。
Pain suddenly runs through my left hand. The back of my hand is burning. My hand feels like it's in a fire, and on it is a strange mark that looks like a tattoo. Careful what you do with your magic shooter.
それは霊樹と呼ばれるものです、シロ。
Ah,
私たちサーバントを律する3つの命令権であり、マスターとしての命でもある。むやみな使用は避けるように。
was he thinking of using command speed? Was he thinking of trying to force her to refer to him by his last name? Imagine that. Imagine using command steal for that. That'd be such a waste. I mean, there's worse ways to waste it, but it'll be fine. Before I can finish with, are you? Who are you? I guess I'm not sure how to read that correctly. Obviously, it's easy to read, but it doesn't make sense. If I just say before I can finish with, are you? The air around her changes.
シロ、傷の治療を。
Heal my wounds. Oh no. It's gonna get awkward. He can't even do healing magic. She speaks in a cold voice. It seems her attention is on something far away, behind the wall, and not on me.
待て、まさか俺に言ってるのか。悪いけど、そんな難しい魔術は知らないし、それにもう治ってるじゃないか、それ。
That's awkward. Shiro doesn't know enough magic to heal her. And she's assuming. Oh my god. That'd be painful if you're Saber. And awkward if you're Shiro. Saber's like, please be a competent mage. Shiro's like, I am a terrible mage. And she's just gotta be like, are you freaking kidding me? Thankfully, she's a little bit more respectful than that. She's, yeah, she just frowns a bit. I think I said something really wrong there.
ではこのままで臨みます。 自動修復は外面を覆っただけですが、あと一度の戦闘ならば支障はないでしょう。
So the injury is still there, but I'm still gonna fight.
あと一度って何を。
外の敵は2人。この程度の重圧なら数秒で倒し得る相手です。
Saying so, Saber jumps lightly. Just like Lancer, she leaps over the wall and disappears outside. I'm left alone in the yard.
外に敵？
As soon as I say it aloud, I realize what it means.
ちょっと待て、まだ戦うっていうのか、お前。
My body starts to move. Without thinking, I run to the gate with full force. I run to the gate and unlock it with trembling hands and jump outside.
サイバー、どこだ？
I search through the dark. The moon is hidden now of all times, and it's completely dark. But I hear something nearby.
そこか。
I run to the small road with no sign of anyone on it. It all happens in an instant. Saber is confronting a familiar guy in red. Familiar? Come again? Well, I guess, sort of. You saw him once, a simple glance, while he was fighting. I wouldn't call him a familiar friend, but it's that guy. Saber runs at the man in red without hesitation, takes his guard down with one blow, and... We're not skipping the scene. Easily slashes the man in red. Saber raises her arm to finish him off, but before the man in red's neck is slashed, he disappears as a powerful magic is cast. Saber doesn't stop. She dashes to the person behind the man in red and easily cuts off the large spell the person launches. I knew she was strong, but this is overwhelming. That spell right now is at a level of intervention magic I cannot even compare with. Father could use one as strong as that, but to cast a natural intervention of that power instantly, I don't even think a first-class Magus could do so. But Saber nullified even that masterclass magic. The enemy must be a Magus, as the match is decided right there. The Magus's attacks are of no use against Saber, and she mercilessly attacks the Magus. A sound of something falling backwards. The Magus has miraculously dodged Saber's blow, but the enemy now cannot move. Saber corners the enemy and points her invisible sword. My mind freezes. Probably because the moon lights up the scene for an instant. I can tell that the figure Saber is pointing at is human. Hey, it's soy sauce. How's it going? I can't tell who it is, but the image of Saber killing someone and getting splattered with blood pops into my head. Saber moves. She will pierce the enemy's throat with the thing in her hand.
Yamero! Saber!
I scream as loud as I can. Not so Gucci. Online classes. I scream as loud as I can. Her sword stops. Thank God I can't see her sword. The end of her invisible sword isn't wet with the enemy's blood.
Yamero! 頼むからやめてくれ。Saber!
Online classes you have to attend. You have to attend, or just online classes in general? I kind of like some online classes. I think are kind of nice because you don't have to show up to class. Well, I hope they didn't give you a ton of work. Actually, no. My least favorite thing about online classes. I scream as loud as I can. Yeah. The average person's response to 2020. I scream as loud as I can. What do you hate about online classes? I have a few things I like. I have a few things I like about them and a few things I dislike. The dislike would be, I usually like it when teachers try to force you to interact in like online forums. I find those are so cringy. It's like, post a bare minimum of 20 posts in the next 3 months, and you're like, this is the dumb, or 5 posts this week. It's like, you're trying to force people to discuss things, but like, do people not know like the 90-91 rule? Or like that's how forums generally operate in real life when you aren't forcing discussion at effectively gunpoint. Like, most posts are made by a small minority of anyone. Just like most famous videos on YouTube are made by a very small minority. A 1%, as you would say. They make 90% of the popular content. You do your homework at school. Oh, that's unfortunate. You can't go to school because everything's online. I never have time to actually do my homework at school. At least not when I was in school. I'd always be busy in classes, doing shit. Yeah, I don't like that either. That's one of the things I really don't like about school is homework. Having to do homework sucks because it's like, even if you can theoretically do all your homework there, it's like now you're getting pressured while you're at home to do all your homework. So you get the feeling that even though you aren't at school, you should be doing something. And if you have even a single piece of homework left, you feel like anything you do that isn't that homework is wrong, and it just feels uncomfortable. You're like, I should be doing homework every single day. You shouldn't be doing anything. Like, that's the pressure and feeling I get, is that like I can't ever relax when I'm in school because I should always be doing homework because they always expect you to always be working on it. And like, if you're not doing homework, you should always be studying. It's a very stressful environment. Yeah, see, you get it. Like Like, if you can be done your homework, go home, and mentally check out, relax, it's not so bad, but the pressure to, like, always be working on homework or always be studying gets pretty intense when you can't take a break and you always have to be on top of it. It makes school pretty miserable. Depending on where you work, it also makes work somewhat miserable. Like, if your boss expects you to always answer your work emails even outside of hours, or to be, like, paying attention and helping people, you know, like... Yeah, no chance to read Stay Night. That's unfortunate. The most important thing. How's your stream coming along? Good, I hope. Oof, internet problems. Yeah, those suck. My internet is thankfully fairly stable. I think I've had like 1 or 2 days where the internet decided to randomly be unstable. I kind of just cut the streams short because it was being problematic. But for the most part, I don't really have any trouble with internet here. I can sympathize with having bad internet problems. I still remember the days when I had dial-up, or when my family had dial-up. Someone picking up the phone kills your internet connection, or when we had our crappy high-speed internet that you'd play games and it'd be like 600 ping around dinner time because so many people were using the internet. Basically, you couldn't play anything online until like 11 in the evening because the whole area's internet consumption would be basically capped. Thankfully, we're mostly past that. I mean, streaming is much higher bandwidth consumption than just playing games. So even being able to do all that without a problem is, I still think it's a bit of a blessing. Well, good luck with that. I hope you're able to convince them to get better or newer internet. Don't do it, Saber. I address her, glaring. Preparing myself to do my best to stop her.
なぜ止めるのです、シロ。彼女はアーチャーのマスターです。ここで仕留めておかなければ。
No, Saber has no intention of stopping. She only stopped because I said so, and she's ready to bring her sword down at any time.
だから待てって。人のことをマスターだとか言ってるけど、こっちは点でわからないんだ。俺をそんな風に呼ぶんなら、少しは説明するのが筋ってもんだろう。
Saber doesn't answer. She only stares at me in silence.
順番が違うだろう、セイバー。俺はまだお前が何なのか知らない。けど、話してくれるなら聞くから、そんなことはやめてくれ。
Saber is silent. Still pointing her sword at the fallen enemy, she looks at me discontentedly.
そんなこととはどのようなことか。
This is an exact repeat of the Fate Roots scene. As far as I can tell.
あなたはむやみに人を傷つけるな、などという理想論を挙げるのですか。
Not hurting anyone unnecessarily? That sounds like Shiro. Well, it's true that we should avoid fights as much as possible, but I'm not so good-natured as to release someone who came to attack me.
つまりあなたは敵であれ命を絶つなと言いたいのでしょ。そのような言葉には従いません。 敵は倒すものです。それでもやめろというのであれば、令状を持って私を律しなさい。
いや、そんなことっていうのはお前のことだ。女の子が剣なんて振り回すもんじゃない。怪我をしてるならなおさらだろう。ってそっか、本当に剣を持ってるかどうかはわからないんだっけ。いや、とにかくそういうのはダメだ。
I mean, you can kind of guess based on how someone's swinging a weapon what kind of weapon it is. Like a lance, it wouldn't be like a spear because of how closely she's holding her hands together at all times. And so you'd be left with things that you hold in two hands. So it could be like a mace, but he's not been Lancer's not had his weapon caught or anything, so it's probably a sword. It's also probably straight. You could probably guess that. I'm surprised Lancer didn't try to guess that and actually ask that as a question, kinda. Like, even blind, you should be able to tell if something is a sword or a spear. Like, is there an object on the end of it? I guess it could be a club, but it's steel, so now you're thinking like steel, invisible steel rod, but it has a cutting edge, so it's probably not that. I feel like you could pretty quickly eliminate most weapons. It would either be something really weird that's like a vaguely sword axe shape thing, and only a few blows. Saber looks dumbfounded, as if taken aback. It's like, cause like if she was swinging, say like a mace with a really heavy head, and she blocked it in the midsection, that momentum would be awkward to work with. So you would, if you were an expert fighter, you'd notice that, and you'd be able to tell if she was using something, because she'd have to like compensate for the momentum, because then you're suddenly turning it into like a lever, where you have a lot of momentum on one side of the weapon, you've caught it in the middle, so it wants to continue and pull out of your hands, pull the handle out of your hands, while the main weight is carrying on. I feel like that would feel different than a sword, which is fairly balanced across the blade or along the blade, that is, with generally more weight towards generally like its weight is towards the handle. Like the center of balance for a sword is supposed to be like only a little bit up the blade. It's not supposed to be towards the end of the blade. Anyway, how long were we standing like that?
いつになったら剣を下げてくれるのかしらね、セイバーさんは。
The figure on the ground suddenly speaks. Saber suddenly concentrates her attention on her sword.
諦めなさい。敵を前にして下げる剣はありません。
あなたのマスターは下げろって言ってるのに。へえ、セイバーともあろうサーバントが主に逆らうって言うんだ。
Saber grits her teeth. But Saber lowers her sword and relaxes. Saber's hostility disappears, so she must have put away her sword as well.
さ、なら立ってもいいのよね、私。
The one on the ground stands up. She looks shameless, brushing her rear. Hey, wait a second. That Selkie person is definitely... What? What?
お前遠坂。
ええ。こんばんは、エミヤ君。
Tosaka Rin replies with a big smile. Good evening, Emiya-kun. That gets me. If she greets me normally like that, everything that happened up to now seems like a dream, and... No, my head's about to explode. Gee, how easily would things be if it did? Yes. How much easier would this visual novel be if Emiya Shiro's head just exploded the end, Emi Ashiro dies.
あ
It'd be a hell of a lot shorter, that's for sure.
さっきの魔術は遠坂が使ったってことだから、つまり
魔術師ってことでしょ。まあお互い似たようなもんだし隠す必要もないわよね。
When she replies clearly like that, it makes me seem stupid for asking. Well, I guess it doesn't hurt to confirm that. Maybe she was just using a magical item. Maybe it's a gift from her father. Maybe it was a grenade. I don't know.
いいから話は中でしましょう。どうせ何も分かってないんでしょ、エミヤくんは。
You don't know anything. Sounds like. I mean, I guess it's fair. I've heard this scene like 3 times, at least. So saying, she walks towards the entrance.
待て遠坂、何考えてんだお前。
She's obviously stepping in for tea, Shiro. And then? She turns, and the smile on her face isn't like the previous one.
バカね、いろいろ考えてるわよ。だから話をしようって言ってるんじゃない。
Well, it's more or less the same experience. There isn't a ton of gameplay in this, right? It's mostly just a few decisions. It's a long decision tree. And most of the bad decisions just lead to instantaneous death. A VOD for this game is very, especially if you're like doing what I'm doing, where you're taking most of the death routes, like you'll probably see all the content. There's a couple portions of the visual novel I haven't covered, like I'm probably not going to reread the Fate route on stream for VOD purposes, but you'd get a very similar experience.
エミヤくん、突然の事態に驚くのもいいけど、素直に認めないと命取りって時もあるのよ。ちなみに今がその時だと分かって。
She glares at me. Yeah, this is one of those times where you need to get some information. That should be your priority, right, Shiro? Yeah, you'd have to catch the. You'd ideally want to catch those live. I do actually go through them, but I go through them basically as fast as I can read them. And I have no clue why the automod hated that line. You know what automod highlighted? Remember, man, my automod is on like the lowest settings. It didn't like THO T-T. It didn't like your emote? Like, are you serious? Maybe it's just discriminating against emotes, like T_T is okay, but T-T is offensive. Oh no. Automod, when you Automod highlights the text that it says it thinks is inappropriate. For example, in my admin history, I now have my name used /add permitted term THOT-T. I had to add that to permitted terms. How unreal is that? It doesn't care about the NSFW part.
わかればよろしい。それじゃあ行こっか。エミヤくんのお家にね。
Kind of an interesting experience though to see what Automod does. It like holds it back, but I can still see the full text. And it's like, do you want to let this through? And apparently if I say okay, it just okays that phrase. You should be able to say that again without any pause. Anyway, I do actually stream the NSFW scenes. Although I do not have I do not keep the VODs on YouTube or elsewhere. Yeah, I don't keep the VODs. But I will stream it. Yeah, when the scene actually comes up, if you're watching, I'll click through it. I just don't keep them uploaded because there aren't YouTube doesn't have any exceptions for any NSFW content, so I can't keep them up. There are exceptions on Twitch for stuff that's mandatory in the game, so when I do stream any of that, it stays there, but yeah. If you really, really want them, I can probably record the whole damn thing. When I think I'm going to hit one of those scenes, I can probably record the whole stream. That's not a big problem. I can probably record the stream and say, here's the stream for that video. I could make a stream archive, that's not too hard. Upload a stream archive of all the VODs that are taken down, if you want to see them. If you want to see the whole thing, because it's I usually just don't record the whole stream. Or like, I stop the recording for that stream so that it's not archived. Toska goes through the gate. I'm gonna be honest though, the NSFW scenes are pretty freaking they're pretty freaking awkward. Like, I'm not even joking. Your average Dojin is more comfortable to read. And like they intentionally made some of those as awkward as humanly possible. It's not even like someone's gonna draw. It's like there's a very small number of people who are gonna get off to this scene. Like, I find the scene itself is less comfortable and more awkward than like, what's a good example? Like the Witcher scenes, the Mass Effect. I mean, the Mass Effect scenes are a joke. Like Mass Effect, they're just like awkward. It's okay. So, the sex scene in each timeline is Shiro's first time, and it's done from like his perspective. It's insanely awkward. They don't like frame it in a super romantic or erotic context. It's actually really uncomfortable. It's actually like fairly uncomfortable just to read. Oh yeah. Only natural. She had a sword pointed at her until now, and she was almost killed.
いや、それにしたって。
Yeah, you can read them because I read them because I want to read the whole storyline. But all right, like without any editing changes for the without any editing changes for like the anime / North American / PG-13 audience, but they aren't actually that amazing. Is it just your imagination, or is she totally unlike how she seems at school? No, you're totally right, Shiro. She acts completely differently when she's got her wizard hat on. So I'm in a strange situation. In front of me is the school's #1 idol, whom I admire, Toska Rin. And following silently behind me is Saber, who calls herself a servant. We got a lot of days to go before the first NSFW scene. I think if there's one in Heavensville. If you've watched the movie, I think the second movie has one of the scenes in it. Yeah. Oh. The hallway suddenly feels like a different dimension. I mean, but I'm not reading, like, this is a visual novel. I'm not reading the scenes. You don't read the scenes to jerk off to them. You're reading this whole visual novel for the character, and you ask yourself, is this appropriate to the character? It kind of is, but it's also kind of just awkward. Like, I don't know. I almost feel like the author made it more awkward than they had to. It feels very authentic. It feels fairly authentic, but also very uncomfortable. It's like, I don't like that. I mean, that's just my perspective. I mean, maybe someone else likes them, but I think they're awkward. And I'm definitely not reading them out loud. It's pretty silly. The hallway suddenly feels like a different dimension. But I can't be a coward forever. I'm a magus, even if I'm just an amateur. Tosuga Rin, a magus just like me, is acting so fearlessly, so I have to act firmly too. But I can only work out a few things. First, about Saber, who's following me. I'm sure she's some kind of a familiar because she calls me master, and I've made a contract with her. I hear that a familiar is some kind of assistant for a magus. Most magi transfer part of their body into something and summon it as another self. For the other self, a magus usually uses a small animal. That's simply because it's easy to take over the mind of something like a cat or a dog. Some magi use a human as their familiar, but they need enough magical energy to restrain a human at all times if they do such a thing. But if one constantly uses enough magical energy to control someone, it would take most of the magus's magical energy to sustain the familiar. But that'd be putting the cart before the horse. A familiar is something that assists the magus. To reduce the burden on the magus, it's commonly accepted that small animals are the most suitable. So I've been taught, but... Here you have a servant. And Saber is looking... I don't even know how to comment on that face. She looks... almost neutral? Yeah, most people who've read it would say don't download it for that. If you want to read those scenes, you can, and you get like a less filtered version or less edited version of the visual novel because you want to read the real thing. But yeah, again, this is a novel that contains an erotic scene. This is not an erotic novel. There is a difference. Like, I wouldn't read The Wheel of Time for its erotic scenes either. They just happen to come along. And those ones, I'm pretty sure the author tried to make them more erotic, but he kind of does like a fade to black thing half the time anyway. Keeper of Furoge. I mean, it technically counts because it has those kind of scenes in it. I mean, if you desperately want to see them, you can just install it and like skip through all the content. But personally, I would just say you could find a doujin that's probably better if that's what you're looking for. Like the regular visual novel has all the text that refers to mana transfer and stuff, and those aren't in the H scenes, so you can get. Yeah, like I feel like if you're reading this visual novel, you get the gist of basically everything from the anime. So if you're reading the visual novel, you should be doing it because you want to read the novel, not because you're looking for anything specific like that. That's my perspective. Saber looks human no matter how you look at her, and she's clearly superior to me, her master. I don't have the magical energy to control such a person, and more than that, I don't have the magic circuit to summon a familiar. So Saber must be something rather unlike a familiar. She said she is a servant. I don't know what that is, but I think the man called Lancer and the man in red with Tosuka were the same thing. And it must be that Tosuka is also called a master. I feel like this visual novel is a good read, so I would highly recommend downloading it anyway. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend downloading it specifically for those scenes. This isn't like an H. This isn't. It isn't an H game. There's a difference. I just saw her magic skills. If I am worth half a Magus, she's worth about 3 Magi. Though of course, there's no point in comparing me to other Magi when I can only use the strengthening magic. I like how he thinks he's half a Magus. At this point, he's not even a 10th of a Magus, but anyway. Tosuka is an amazing mage. I haven't even finished day 1. Good stuff, good stuff. The Fate route is an interesting read. Anyway, Tosuka is an amazing Magus. In any spiritually superior land is a family of Magi that looks after the land. What? Tosuka is an amazing Magus, period. In any spiritually superior land is a family of Magi that looks after that land. Okay, that's alright. That doesn't flow very well, but alright. The Emiya family only came to this land in Kiritsugu's generation, so we're strangers. That's why I didn't know that the Tosukas were Magi, and I don't think Tosuka knew that the Emiyas were a family of Magi either. There are several Magi in this town that I don't know about. But we're basically reading. I believe this scene is from the Fate route still. Heavensfield and Unlimited Blade Works both draw heavily on the Fate route for the first 3 days. You'll actually be reading this exact scene shortly, depending on how things go. Actually, I think it'll be 100% of the time if you're reading the Fate route. Lancer is the familiar of another Magus. In this town, then does that mean I stuck my head into a conflict between Magi? Absolutely.
へえ、結構広いのね。和風っていうのも新鮮だな。あ、エミヤくん、そこが今？
I like how Tosuka just invites herself into your house. Is that your living room, Emiya? Saying so, Tosuka goes into the living room. Let's stop thinking for now. Let's just listen to Tosuka's story. I turn the lights on. It's already past 1 in the morning.
寒っ。何よ、窓ガラス全開してるじゃない。
We literally almost died and had to break the window. Get over
仕
it.
方ないだろう。ランサーってやつに襲われたんだ。なりふり構ってられなかったんだよ。
ああ、そういうこと。じゃあ、セイバーを呼び出すまで一人であいつとやり合ってたの？
Basically,
やり
yes.
合ってなんかない。ただ一方的にやられただけだ。
I like how we're salty about how he beat us up.
ふーん。変な見え張らないんだ。そっかそっか。ほんと見た目通りなんだ、エミヤくんって。
Tosuka walks over to the broken window. Tosuka takes a piece of the shattered glass, takes a look at it, and she cuts the tip of her finger and puts a drop of her blood onto the glass. What kind of magic is this? The shattered glass combines on its own and restores itself in a matter of seconds.
そうさか。今の
Restoration magic, yes.
ちょっとしたデモンストレーションよ。助けてもらったお礼にはならないけど、一応筋は通しておかないとね。もう、私がやらなくともそっちで直したんだろうけど、こんなの魔力の無駄遣いでしょ？本当なら窓ガラスなんて取り替えれば済むけど、こんな寒い中で話すのもなんだし。
She says so as if it's something natural. She's just gonna casually fix with the window. 2 seconds. Just with a snap of her fingers. Done. Needless to say, her skills are beyond my understanding.
いや、すごいぞ遠坂。俺はそんなことできないからな。直してくれて感謝してる。
できないってそんなことないでしょ。
She's like desperately begging in her head, he can't be this bad. Please don't be this bad.
ガラスの扱いなんて初歩の初歩だもの。たった数分前に割れたガラスの修復なんてどこの学派でも入門試験みたいなものでしょ。
She's like, how can he be a magus if he's this bad?
そうなのか。俺は親父にしか教わったことがないから、そういう基本とか処方とか知らないんだ。
は？
Tosuka freezes. Damn it! It seems I said something I shouldn't have.
ちょっと待って。じゃあ何？エミヤ君は自分の工房の管理もできない半人前ってこと？
Basically, yes. His dad did all the setup for like the warding and stuff around the building. He hasn't actually done or maintained any of that.
いや、工房なんて持ってないぞ、俺。
Well, I do have that shed as my training area, but I think Tosuka would get mad if I called that my workshop.
まさかとは思うけど確認しとく。もしかしてあなた5大要素の扱いとかパスの作り方も知らない？
I honestly admit, I don't know. I don't know how to make a pass either. Unless you mean a pass at Tosuka. Wow, that's scary. That glare. She's so beautiful usually, so she looks pretty scary now. I'm with you, Shiro. I don't want to get glared at by Rin. Not that way, at least.
じゃああなた素人？
Although I guess if you're in a relationship with Rin at all, you're gonna get glared at a lot. That's what happens when they're tsundere.
そんなことないぞ。
But maybe it's not
一
so
応
bad.
強化の魔術ぐらいは使える。
強化ってまたなんとも半端なのを使うのね。で、それ以外はからっきしってわけ？
Anything else? Come on. Strengthening? That's it? Tosuka glares at me.
まあ、端的に言えば、多分。
Her glare makes my answer vague.
はあ、なんだってこんなやつにセイバーが呼び出されるのよ。まったく。
Obviously because the clocks are off by an hour. Or more likely because you had no catalyst, Rin, but Rin doesn't know that. It makes me mad. I haven't been playing around. I know I'm an amateur, but I don't think it matters right now.
まあいいわ。もう決まったことに不平をこぼしても始まらない。そんなことより今は借りを返さないと。
Tosuka takes a breath.
それじゃあ話を始めるけど、エミヤ君、自分がどんな立場にあるのか分かってないでしょ。
This is Tosuka's pose she makes every time she's explaining something to me. She puts on her glasses, she's going full teacher mode. Autobot didn't even notice it.
やっぱり。まあ一目で分かったけど、一応確認しとかないとね。知ってる相手に説明するなんて心の贅肉だし。
I think that was a weird phrase. Yeah, putting flab on your mind is a weird phrase. But I'll stay quiet as I think she'll beat me up if I make fun of her now. Yeah, I wouldn't say anything about that putting flab on your mind statement. I think Automod is only checking for racist stuff. It doesn't care about inappropriate stuff.
どちらかの手に精根があるでしょ。手の甲とか腕とか個人差はあるけど 3つの霊樹が刻まれているはず。それがマスターとしての証よ。
I think you're good to get through the filters. Just don't say anything racist. And I wouldn't appreciate it if you said anything racist anyway, so don't. I think that's what Automod cares about. That's the reasoning it gave for the last couple things. For the last thing you said that it was questioning, and I was like, I don't understand how that's inappropriate. I think it's just a little bit overly strict. But that's fine. I'm okay with making exceptions, as long as I don't have to do that every 5 minutes.
手の甲って、あ、これか。
そう。それはサーバントを律する呪文でもあるから大切にね。霊樹って言うんだけど、それがある限りはサーバントを従えていられるわ。
These are your command spells. Don't lose them.
どういうことだよ。
They're literally engraved in your hand. You can't possibly lose them.
霊樹は絶対命令権なの。サーバントには自由意志があるって気づいていると思うけど、それをねじ曲げて絶対に言いつけを守らせる呪文がその刻印。
Yep. Servants have their own will. Glad we noticed that.
発動に呪文は必要なくて、あなたが霊樹を使用するって思えば発動するから。
Also, the first thing we noticed was not that we summoned a spirit, but that the spirit was incredibly attractive.
ただし、1回使うたびに1つずつ減っていくから、使うのなら2回だけにとどめなさい。
I'm sorry to hear you're experiencing things like that, soy sauce. I'm glad you're willing to come forward and admit you have an issue. I'm not sure how I can help. It might be therapy. Alright.
で、
Don't lose all your command spells.
エミヤ君は殺されるだろうから、せいぜい注意して。
俺が殺される？
そうよ。マスターが他のマスターを倒すのが聖杯戦争の基本だから。そうして他の6人を倒したマスターには望みを叶える聖杯が与えられるの。
何？
Yeah, you just gotta kill a bunch of other people, no big deal. Hold on. I don't understand what Tezuka's talking about at all. Like the part about masters killing other masters? What was confusing about that? She kinda started at the middle, I guess. That's fair. This is like the shortest explanation. It's fundamental in the Holy... You didn't explain what the Grail War is. You just said the person who kills them is awarded the Grails. I don't understand the part he doesn't understand about the Masters killing masters. That's straightforward. She's like, we're in the middle of something, and it's pretty standard for people to kill each other in it. And the part where the winner gets a Holy Grail? What, does she mean that Holy Grail? Apparently.
要するにね、あなたはあるゲームに巻き込まれたのよ。
Mages play a weird kind of game. Most people wouldn't consider Holy Grail Wars a fun pastime.
聖杯戦争っていう7人のマスターの生存競争。他のマスターを一人残らず倒すまで終わらない魔術師同士の殺し合いに。
Kosugarin states so as if it's the most natural thing in the world. Yes, a game called the Holy Grail War, survival game. You win by not being dead at the end and killing everyone else. Alright. Everyone's favorite kind of game, right? Yeah, why do anything that isn't life-threatening when you can just kill each other over random objects? That phrase swirls in my head. I've been chosen as a master. Nobody in the Naziverse has a relaxing pastime. You see, Alexander wants video gaming to be his full-time job, and taking over the world to be his pastime. Tosuka says she is a master. Familiars called the servants. And a battle to the death between other magi called the Holy Grail War.
待て、なんだそれ。いきなり何言ってんだお前。
気持ちはわかるけど、私は事実を口にするだけよ。
Just because it's the truth doesn't mean
そ
we
れはあ
like
な
it.
ただって心の底では理解してるんじゃない？一度ならず二度までもサーバントに殺されかけて、自分はもう逃げられない立場なんだって。
Almost killed. Man, we actually died. It sucked. Our heart got pierced. Someone had to heal us. A mysterious someone who conveniently has the same voice you do. Seems like Shiro isn't aware of that, though. That's... Certainly. I was almost killed by that Lancer guy, but...
あ、違うわね。殺されかけたんじゃなくて、殺されたんだっけ。よく生き返ったわね、エミヤくん。
Tosuka's comment finishes me off. That's right. That guy killed me, and I certainly died. No excuse nor negotiation was possible. I was just someone who had to be killed. I mean, he got his heart pierced and lost consciousness. Yo, Gabby, how's it going? So, even if I do deny this battle to the death that I cannot understand, the others in it will not withdraw. Yeah, no one else is gonna just step out, especially if there's a reward with killing over.
ならもう少しだけ話をしてあげる。聖杯戦争というのが何であるか私もよくは知らない。
Wait, you don't know what the Holy Grail War is? Why don't you know about it, Ren?
ただ何十年に一度、7人のマスターが選ばれ、マスターにはそれぞれサーバントが与えられるってことだけは確かよ。
Oh, congratulations, you're almost through the Lost Belt. How are you liking Lost Belt 2? I feel like it's nicely picking up for the start of the story. For the start of a story, it's a much nicer beginning than, say, not Okeanos. What was second? Septum. Compared to Septum, it's a much nicer singular. It's a much nicer patch. Has a solid story. How are you liking Napoleon? You're in chapter 12 of Lost Belt 2. I think it's a great chapter. I personally like Napoleon. I wasn't sure what to expect, but he seems pretty cool. Assuming you've met him, I think you've met him by chapter 12.
私もマスターに選ばれた一人。だからサーバントと契約したし、あなただってセーバーと契約した。サーバントは聖杯戦争を勝ち残るために聖杯が与えた使い魔と考えなさい。
Oh man, I'm looking forward to Lost Belt 5. Or 5.5. Man, it's gonna be forever for me. I have to somehow push my Japanese account, 3-star account, either all the way to Lost Belt 5, or I'm gonna have to wait a long time. And it seems like they keep putting up events that I can't join in on. It's gonna be tough. Yeah, Lost Belt 5.5, that's gonna be suffering. I hear it's fairly challenging. It looks pretty tough. That PV was pretty hype.
で、マスターである私たちは自分のサーバントと協力して他のマスターを始末していくわけね。
Tosuka's description is too brief for me to understand. You're right, Tosuka. It is very, very vague. Doesn't seem very orderly either. They're like, the servant's a familiar given to you by the Holy Grail. To win the Holy Grail War, as masters, we work with our servant to kill their masters. I'm a master, you're a master, Saber's a servant. It feels like if she had organized it better, or started with a vague overview and then delved into key things, that it would have been a better explanation. As it's like, she kind of assumes he has a little bit of background knowledge, but it's more like he knows nothing. Because she's trying to explain this to you, the protagonist, and this could be the first time you read this. So there's one thing I do wonder about.
ちょっと待ってくれ。遠坂はセイバーを使い魔だって言うけど、俺にはそうは思えない。だって使い魔っていうのは猫とか鳥だろ。そりゃ人の幽霊を扱うやつもいるって言うけど、セイバーはちゃんと体がある。それにとても使い魔なんかに見えない。
I glance at Saber. Saber is quietly listening to our conversation. She looks just like a human being. I don't know her identity, but she's a girl about my age. Just having a girl like that near me is more than enough, so I don't get it when she tells me that Saber is a familiar. And besides, my heart is pounding right now. You really like Saber, is what we're saying.
まあサーバントはその分類ではあるけど、位置づけは段違いよ。何しろそこにいる彼女はね、使い魔としては最強とされるゴーストライナーなんだから。
ゴーストライナー。じゃあやっぱり幽霊ってことか。
Sort of. She's sort of a ghost. A human ghost that stopped living a long time ago. The remaining minds of those with strong abilities who remain in this world even after they die. That doesn't make sense, though. A ghost doesn't have a body. A ghost can only be hurt by ghosts. So, as I have a body, a ghost shouldn't be able to kill me.
幽霊。似たようなものだけど、そんなもんと一緒にしたらセイバーに殺されるわよ。サーバントは受肉した過去の英雄。精霊に近い人間以上の存在なんだから。
はあ？受肉した過去の英雄。
How would that even be achieved?
過去だろうが現代だろうが、とにかく死亡した伝説上の英雄をこう引っ張ってきてね、実体化させるのよ。まあ、呼び出すまでがマスターの役割で、後の実体化は聖杯がしてくれるんだけどね。魂を形にするなんてのは、一介の魔術師には不可能だもの。ここは強力なアーティファクトの力におんぶしてもらうってわけ。
ちょっと待て。
Okay.
過去の英雄って、
That's right. I look over at Saber. Then she's a heroine from the past, too? That's right. Well, it's true that nobody would dress like that now, but still.
そんなの不可能だ。そんな魔術聞いたことがない。
Shiro has clearly never heard of live-action roleplay. Or, crap, I can't forget. What's the name of the organization that actually does, full plate combat? Full plate, plate armor fighting? They would probably, laugh. Or like people who like Renaissance or medieval fairs. If you haven't been to any of those, there's tons of people wearing plate armor. Full sets, too. Depending on where you go. Kind of popular
当然よ。これは魔術じゃないもの。
among certain circles.
あくまで聖杯による現象と考えなさい。そうでなければ、魂を再現して固定化するなんてできるはずがない。
Yeah, there's no way you supply that kind of energy, Shiro.
魂の再現って。じゃあサーバントは幽霊とは違うのか？
Not quite.
違うわ。人間であれ動物であれ機械であれ、偉大な功績を残すと輪廻の輪から外されて、一段階上に昇華するって話、聞いたことない？
Any human, animal, or machine that leaves any great achievement behind gets removed from reincarnation and sublimates into a being of a higher rank. The machine's claws is how we get Voyager. I'm not really sure what he actually did, other than be a satellite. But I guess he has a Wikipedia article, so he's worth making into a servant. I still don't know how we got Nursery Rhyme, because she's a book. The book itself did nothing, the author penned the book. And the contents were as the author wrote it, but, sure. Note that it also says animals, so, you could have a legendary doggo, which we have in the form of Lobo. But we could have just a regular dog that's legendary. Or an exceptionally talkative parrot. Or any number of weird animals summoned as servants, not just spirits, full-on servants.
英霊っていうのはそういう連中よ。
I wonder if there's a heroic spirit for, like, mice who, like, lab mice who died or something like that. That'd be kind of funny.
要するに崇め立て祀られて疑似的な神様になった者たちなんでしょうね。高霊術とか口寄せとかそういう一般的な霊を扱う魔術は彼らの力の一部を借り受けて奇跡を起こすでしょ。けどこのサーバントっていうのは英霊本体を直接連れてきて使い魔にする。だから基本的には霊体としてそばにいるけど必要とあれば実体化させて戦わせられるってわけ。
その霊体と実体を使い分けられるってことか。遠坂のサーバントは姿が見えないけど今は霊体ってことか。
いえ、あいつはうちの召喚人で傷を癒している最中よ。さっきセイバーにやられたでしょ。あれだってあと少し強制撤去が遅かったら一撃で消滅してたわ。いい？サーバントを倒せるのは同じ霊体であるサーバントだけ。そりゃ相手が実体化していればこっちの攻撃も当たるからうまくすれば倒せるかもしれない。けどサーバントはみんな怪物じみてるでしょ。だから怪物の相手は怪物に任せてマスターは後方支援をするっていうのがセオリーね。
Master supports from behind. Shira, Tosika's explanation irritates me for some reason. Is it because she says the servant's supposed to be frontline? Calls them monsters. Oh, that's what it is. I don't know about the other servants, but I don't want her to talk about Saber like that.
とにかくマスターになった人間は召喚したサーバントを使って他のマスターを倒さなければならない。そのあたりは理解できた？
言葉の上でなら。けど納得なんて言ってないぞ。
Yeah, why haven't you killed me yet?
そもそもそんな悪趣味なことを誰が何のために始めたんだ。
それは
Good
私
question.
が知るべき
Why
こと
do
でも
this?
ないし答えてあげることでもない。そのあたりはいずれちゃんと聖杯戦争を監督しているやつに聞きなさい。私が教えてあげられるのはね、あなたはもう戦うしかなくてサーバントは強力な使い魔だからうまく使えってことだけよ。
Tosika says so and now turns to Saber.
さてエミヤ君から話を聞いた限りじゃあなたは不完全な状態みたいね、セイバー。
ええ、あなたの言う通り私は万全ではありません。シローには私を実体化させる魔力がないため霊体に戻ることも魔力の回復も難しいでしょう。
驚いたわ。そこまでひどかったこともだけどあなたが正直に話してくれるなんて思わなかった。どうやって弱みを聞き出そうかなって程度だったのに。
Well, there's your answer. She doesn't have a lot of it. She isn't getting much of an energy supply, so battles of attrition are really bad for her.
敵に弱点を見抜かれるのは不本意ですがあなたの目は欺けそうにない。こちらの手札を隠しても意味はないでしょう。それならばあなたに知ってもらうことでシローにより深く現状を理解してもらった方がいい。
正解。 風格も十分と。もうますます惜しい。私がセイバーのマスターだったらこんな戦い勝ったも同然だったのに。
Tosuke clenches her fists with anger. Yeah, it's very possible. If you're the master of Saber, you would have won the war.
遠坂、それ俺がふさわしくないってことか？
Obviously not, Shiro. You don't even know how to transfer mana to your own servant, let alone heal their injuries or do anything useful like that.
当然でしょ、ヘッポコ。
Exactly. Yep, she just said something any normal person would have trouble saying. And I 100% agree with it. Yeah, Shiro's definitely not appropriate right now. The only thing he matches with is personality.
まだなんか質問があるの？
In terms of winning the war, they're not a great pair. And she doesn't realize it. I mean, I think she realizes that Tosuke isn't that dumb. Her honor student image from school crumbles inside of me. Good going, Issei. Tosuke certainly shows no openings, just like a devil.
さて、話がまとまったところでそろそろ行きましょうか。
Tosuke suddenly says something strange.
行くってどこへ？
Where are we going?
だからあなたが巻き込まれたこのゲーム、聖杯戦争をよく知っているやつに会いに行くの。エミヤくん、聖杯戦争の理由について知りたいんでしょ？
それは当然だ。けど、それってどこだよ？もうこんな時間なんだし、あんまり遠いのは。
大丈夫。隣町だから急げば夜明けまでには帰ってこれるわ。それに明日は日曜なんだから別に夜更かししてもいいじゃない。
いや、そういう問題じゃなくて。
Yeah, it's just a lot of things happened today. I want to have a rest and think about them. You and me both, sure. I'd definitely be on board with waiting a bit, but, you know,
何？
time waits for no one.
もうエミヤくんがそう言うんならいいけど、セイバーは？
Tosuke asks Saber. What about you, Saber?
ちょっと待て、セイバーは関係ないだろう。あんまり無理強いするな。
もうマスターとしての自覚はあるんだ。私がセイバーと話すのは嫌？
そんなことあるか。ただ、遠坂の言うのが本当なら、セイバーは昔の英雄なんだろ？なら、こんな現代に呼び出されて、右も左もわからないはずだ。だから、
シロ、それは違う。サーバントは人間の世であるのなら、あらゆる時代に適応します。です。
ね、知ってるって、本当に？
Yep.
もちろん。この時代に呼び出されたのも一度ではありませんから。
嘘。どんな確率よそれ。
What are the odds? What are the odds you get summoned to the same place in the exact same time period multiple times as a servant? I mean, to be fair, you could be summoned to multiple timelines, I guess. Y'all seem pretty small, though. Hey, Tosuke's surprised, too. That must mean Saber said something incredible.
シロ、私は彼女に賛成です。あなたはマスターとして知識がなさすぎる。あなたと契約したサーバントとして、シロには強くなってもらわなければ困ります。
Saber stares at me silently. Yeah, you need to improve, Shiro. It's a gentle stare that's worried not for herself, but for me.
わかった。行けばいいんだろ、行けば。で、それってどこなんだ、遠坂。ちゃんと帰ってこれる場所なんだろうな。
Yeah, you can come back for me. It's just a long
行
way.
き先は隣町の琴峰教会。そこがこの戦いを監督してるエセ神父の居所よ。
Tosuke makes an evil smile. It looks like she's having fun dragging me around while I don't know anything. It might be prejudice, but I'm beginning to feel like there's a problem with her personality. Look at that smug grin. There's nothing wrong with that. She's just being cute. Ignore that, Shiro. Ignore Shiro and his terrible opinion. There's nothing wrong with... Yeah, we're not skipping that. Nothing wrong with, Tosuke. We walk through the nighttime town. It's past 1 in the morning, and there's no one out at this time. The lights in the houses are out, and only the street lamps illuminate the silent town.
まあ遠さかつかのことを聞くけど歩いて隣町まで行く気なのか？
そうよ。だって電車もバスも終わってるでしょ。いいんじゃない？たまには夜の散歩っていうのも。
そうか。一応聞くけど隣町までどのくらいかかるか知ってるか？
歩いてだと1時間ぐらいかしらね。まあ遅くなったら帰りはタクシーでも拾えばいいでしょ。
Oh man, I hate doing this. When I was in university, I had to do a walk that's about an hour all the time because I'd be hanging out at friends and the buses would stop running and have to walk all the way back. That was such a pain. Oh my god, I would not want to walk that. I do not like walking that at night. It's such a pain. I've done that before, like walked like an hour-ish at night. I should have done like an hour and a half walk. I think it's the longest I did. Night. Stupid buses. The one time I want to use the buses. Half the time I want to use the buses, they've already expired.
そんな余分な金は使わないし、俺が言いたいのは女の子が夜で歩くのはどうかってことだ。最近物騒なのは知ってるだろ？もしものことがあったら責任持てないぞ、俺。
Much like me, Shiro is insanely stingy and is like, I'm not spending money on a cab when I can just walk an hour.
安心しなさい。相手がどんなやつだろうとちょっかいなんて出してこないわ。エミヤ君は忘れてるみたいだけど、そこにいるセイバーはとんでもなく強いんだから。
Seriously, what is a normal person going to do? You have like a servant, and then you have Tosaka, who can probably cast spells to fuck people up pretty well. If nothing else, she can just gander people, blow them away in like 2 seconds. I think she knows martial arts. She's probably set. She doesn't even have to do any obscene magic. She can just like do physical enhancement and beat the shit out of people. With seemingly superhuman strength and speed, right? Yeah, Asuka's totally right. Whoever it is, if someone attacks her, they'll be counterattacked viciously.
リン、シロは今何を言いたかったのでしょう。私には理解できなかったのですが。
I like how she doesn't take her armor off, so she's wearing this like crazy raincoat.
いや、大した勘違いっぷりっていうか、大間抜けっていうか。なんでも私たちが痴漢に襲われたら、エミヤ君が助けてくれるんだって。
そんな、シロは私のマスターだ。それでは立場が逆ではないですか。
そういうの考えてないんじゃない？魔術師とかサーバントとかどうでもいいって感じ。あいつの頭の中、一度見てみたくなったわね。
His head is mostly empty, except for thoughts of Saber apparently, half the time. Tosaka and Saber now know each other well enough to talk to each other. Saber has been silent ever since I stopped her from going out dressed like she was. She said she wouldn't take off her armor, so I made her wear a raincoat, and she's been quiet ever since. And she hates the raincoat. Now she follows me and only speaks to Tosaka.
あれ？どっちに行くのよ、エミヤ君。そっち、道が違うんじゃない？
橋に出ればいいんだろ。ならこっちのが近道だ。
I don't want to walk alongside them, so I quickly make my way to the small side road. They follow me without objection. We come out into a park. We have to cut across that bridge to go to the neighboring town of Shinto, but
へえ、こんな道あったんだ。そっか。橋には公園からでも行けるんだから、 公園を目指せばいいのね。
True. Maybe it's just because it's nighttime. Tosca's face, looking up at the bridge, seems even more beautiful than at school. I'm troubled.
いいから行くぞ。別に遊びに来たわけじゃないんだから。
It looks exceptionally beautiful illuminated by the moonlight. Alright. I hurry Tosca, who is standing still in the park, and make my way up the stairs. Once we reach the road alongside the bridge, Shinto will be straight ahead of us. There's no one on the bridge. It's only natural as not many people use it, even during daytime. It's more normal to use the bus or the train to get to the neighboring town, so this bridge is very rarely used. That's because it's so long and it carries a fear that it might collapse upon you. That must be why this place isn't used for dates, even though it's perfect location-wise.
バカらしい。何考えてんだ俺。
Saber is following me silently, and Tosca is walking right beside me. Trying to ignore them, I hurry across the bridge. Beyond the bridge, Tosca leads us up into the suburbs. When I think about Shinto, only the office buildings in front of the station come to mind, but there are streets from older times once you get away from the station. The suburbs are the most extreme of those. There are hilly roads and a high road overlooking the sea. High ground overlooking the sea. As you go further up the hill, there are fewer buildings, and the foreigners' cemetery built on the slope of the hill can be seen.
この上が教会よ。エミヤ君も一度ぐらいは行ったことがあるんじゃない？
Surprisingly, no.
いや、ない。あそこが孤児院だったってことぐらいは知ってるけど。
Shiro's never been there. Why? No reason to go there.
そう。なら今日が初めてか。じゃあ少し気を引き締めた方がいいわ。あそこの神父は一筋縄じゃいかないから。
That is accurate, but it is still an understatement. The priest there is very difficult to deal with. Tosca starts up the hill. Looking up, I can see a building at the top of the hill. A church atop the hill. I never thought I'd visit God's house for the first time for a reason like this. Yeah, I wouldn't expect this to be my first time visiting a church either.
すごいな、これ。
The church is magnificent. The whole top of the hill must be the church's land, as a flat field welcomes me as soon as I reach the top. The church isn't that big, but it's compelling, towering over its visitors.
シロ、私はここに残ります。
なんでだよ。ここまで来たのに、セイバーだけ置いてけぼりなんてできないだろ
私は教会に来たのではなく、シロを守るためについてきたのです。シロの目的地が教会であるのなら、これ以上遠くには行かないでしょう。で
Personally,
すから、ここで帰りを待つことにします。
he's waiting at the gates, right? I personally would probably wait at the doors at the very least. So if the priest is hostile, you don't get in any shit, but stopping at the gates is kind of weird because you don't know the situation inside the building if you're trying to bodyguard someone. Anyway, Saber says she's not going any further. Clearly. It doesn't seem like she'll budge an inch, so I decide to respect her decision.
う。わかった。それじゃあ行ってくる。
In we go.
誰であろうと気を許さないように、マスター。
It is a large, impressive chapel. Since it's so large, many people must come here during the day. If he's entrusted with such a church, the priest here must be a man of character. Yes, character, nothing else.
トサカ、ここの神父さんっていうのはどんな人なんだ？
どんな人かって説明するのは難しいわね。10年来の知人だけど、私だって未だにあいつの性格はつかめないもの。
10年来の知人？それはまた随分と年季が入った関係だな。もしかして親戚か何かか？
親戚じゃないけど私の後見人よ。ついでに言うと兄弟子にして第二の師っていうところ。
兄弟子って魔術師としての兄弟子？
Yep, he's a wizard.
そうだけど、なんで驚くのよ、そこで。
だって神父さんなんだろ。神父さんが魔術なんて、そんなのご法度じゃないか。
He's a shitty priest. What can I say? By their nature, a magus and the church cannot be in harmony. An organization that Magi belong to is called the Magic Association. And the other side of religion, the side you wouldn't see while living a normal life, is called the Holy Church. The two are barely similar. They cooperate in name, but they're always trying to kill each other when given the chance. The Church hates heretics. They totally eliminate the inhuman, and they count magic using humans among their targets. For the Church, miracles are only given to the chosen holy saints. Any miracles handled by other people are heresies. Gotta be a saint to use magic. There are no exceptions, even for those within the Church. The higher one rises in the Church, the more one is prohibited from the impurity of magic. And for a follower entrusted with a church like this, and the more divine protection one receives, the more one should stay away from magic.
いや、そもそもここの神父さんってこっち側の人だったのか。
It's just a contradiction the Church holds. Alright? They have a lot of magic items, a lot of magic weapons they have people
聖杯戦争の
use.
監督役を任されたやつだもの。バリッバリの大公社よ。まあ、最も神のご加護があるかどうかは疑問だけど。
This church is just riddled with contradictions. Or at least the church concept. But that seems to be intentional, so it's not worth complaining about. More like something worth remarking on. Okay. Like the real life church, filled with contradictions. Tosca's footsteps echo as she approaches the altar. It's bad manners to do that when the priest isn't here, but it's so late at night. I wasn't even aware that was bad manners, by the way. Until I read it in here, I was like, apparently that's a thing. He won't be in the chapel, so if he's anywhere, it will be in the private room in the back.
んで、その神父さんはなんて言うんだ。さっきは琴峰とかなんとか言ってたけど。
名前は琴峰綺麗。父さんの教え子でね。もう10年以上顔を合わせてる腐れ縁よ。まあ、できれば知り合いたくなかったけど。
The best review for a person. I wish I'd never met him.
同感だ。私も死を敬わぬ弟子など持ちたくはなかった。
A footstep. He must have noticed our entry as he slowly appears from the other side of the altar.
再三の呼び出しにも応じぬと思えば、変わった客を連れてきたな。彼が7人目というわけか、リン。
そう。一応魔術師だけど、中身は点で素人だから見てられなくって。確かマスターになった者は、ここに届けを出すのが決まりだったわよね。あんたたちが勝手に決めたルールだけど、今回は守ってあげる。
It's a rule you fabricated, but I'll just follow it this time because reasons.
それは結構。なるほど。ではその少年には感謝しなくてはな。
The priest called Kotomine slowly turns to me. Without realizing, I step back. He's not scary at all. I don't feel any hostility from him. But this priest still has a presence that makes the air around him feel heavy.
私はこの教会を任されている。琴峰きれいというものだが。君の名は何というのかな？7人目のマスターよ。
ヘミやシロ。けど、俺はまだマスターなんてものになった覚えはないからな。
I glare back at the priest, trying not to lose against his presence.
エミヤ、シロ。
The weight on my back turns into a chill. The priest slowly smiles as if he's met someone pleasant. That smile, it makes me...
礼を言う、エミヤ。よくリンを連れてきてくれた。君がいなければあれは最後までここには訪れなかったろう。
The priest makes his way towards the altar. Tosca moves away from the altar and stands beside me. Guess they pass by each other.
エミヤ、シロ。 君はセイバーのマスターで間違いはないか？
それは違う。確かに俺はセイバーと契約した。けど、マスターとか聖杯戦争とか、そんなことを言われても俺には点でわからない。マスターっていうのがちゃんとした魔術師がなるものなら、他にマスターを選び直した方がいい。
なるほど。これは重症だ。
Nope, we
だ
don't
か
know
ら素
Jack.
人だって言ったじゃない。そのあたりからしつけてあげて。そういう追い込み得意でしょ、あんた。
You're really good at that. Train him from the very first steps, will you? Tosuke urges the priest.
ほう。これはそういうことか。
Tosuke just flinging barbs. Kotomine flinging them right back. Although he's not as aggressive about it.
お前が私を頼ったのはこれが初めてだ。エミやシローには感謝をしてもし足りないな。
Kotomine laughs. Their conversation makes me feel uneasy.
まず君の勘違いを正そう。いいか、エミやシロー。マスターというものは他人に譲れるものではないし、なってしまった以上やめられるものでもない。その腕に霊樹を刻まれた者は、たとえ何者であろうとマスターをやめることはできん。
やめることはできないって、どうしてだよ。
霊樹とは聖魂でもある。マスターとは与えられた試練だ。都合が悪いからといって放棄することはできん。
Yeah, but Shiro's not religious.
その痛みからは聖杯を手に入れるまでは解放されない。お前がマスターを辞めたいというのであれば、聖杯を手に入れ、斧が望みを叶えるより他はあるまい。そうなれば何もかもが元通りだぞ、エミヤシロ。お前の望み、そのうちに溜まった泥をすべてかき出すこともできる。そうだ、初めからやり直すこととて可能だろうよ。
Anything's possible.
故
Just
に
use the
望む
grow.
がいい。
Just use the grow.
もしその時が来るのなら、君はマスターに選ばれた幸運に感謝するのだからな。その目に見えぬ火傷の跡を消したいのならば、聖魂を受け入れるだけでいい。
That would be a great pitch if Shiro gave a shit about any of that. I feel dizzy. The priest's words don't make any sense. They just confuse me more and more as I listen. But still, his words soak into my brain and clot like blood.
キレ、回りくどい真似はしないで。私は彼にルールを説明してあげてって言ったのよ。誰も傷を開けなんて言ってない。
Well, you did say he was difficult to deal with, so I should have expected something like this. A voice cuts in.
遠坂。
That clears up my dizzy head.
そうか。こういった手合いには何を言っても無駄だからな。せめて勘違いしたまま道徳を拭い去ってやろうと思ったのだが。
Imagine having someone who can just strip away your morality with a few
情けは
casual
人の
words.
ためならずとはよく言ったものだ。
Or at the very
つ
least
い私
confuse
自
you.
身も楽しんでしまったか。
Or at least confuse you and make it unclear what you should be
何よ。
doing.
彼を助けるといいことあるっていうの、あんたに。
あるとも。人を助けるということはいずれ自身を救うということだからな。と今さらお前に説いても始まるまい。では本題に戻ろうか、エミヤシロ。君が巻き込まれたこの戦いは聖杯戦争と呼ばれるものだ。7人のマスターが7人のサーバントを用いて繰り広げる争奪戦ということぐらいはリンから聞いているか。
聞いてる。7人のマスターで殺し合うっていうふざけた話だろ。
Well, yes. And no.
そうだ。だが我らとて好きでこのような非道を行っているわけではない。すべては聖杯を得るにふさわしいものを選抜するための儀式だ。何しろ物が物だからな。所有者の選定にはいくつかの試練が必要だ。
What trials? What trials do we need to determine the owner? I'll bet this priest doesn't think of this Holy Grail War thing as a trial.
待てよ。さっきから聖杯聖杯って繰り返してるけど、それって一体何なんだ？まさか本当にあの聖杯だって言うんじゃないだろうな。
The Holy Grail. A grail said to have received the blood of the Christ. It is considered to be one of the greatest holy relics and said to be capable of many miracles. The most common rumor about it is that the one who obtains the Holy Grail will obtain the world. But that's just an invention. After all, the Holy Grail itself is almost something that exists but doesn't exist. The Holy Grail that makes wishes come true certainly appears in many folklores and legends around the world. But that's it. A fictional power that doesn't exist and isn't possible. That is the Holy Grail.
どうなんだ、琴峰綺麗。あんたの言う聖杯は本当に聖杯なのか？
もちろんだとも。この町に現れる聖杯は本物だ。その証拠の一つとして、サーバントなどという法外な奇跡が起きているだろう。過去の英霊を呼び出し刺激する。いいな。すでに死者の蘇生に近いこの奇跡は魔法と言える。これだけの力を持つ聖杯ならば、持ち主に無限の力を与えよう。物の心眼など、その事実の前には無価値だ。
It doesn't matter if it's actually the Holy Grail. It's the existence of such a thing is undoubtable in the face of unlimited power. That's fair. Doesn't have to be the real thing if it basically functions like the real thing, right? Or even does even more than what you think the real thing's supposed to do. So, he means that even if it's a fake, it doesn't matter if it has powers that would overwhelm even the true Holy Grail. I mean, that is a fair statement.
いいぜ。仮に聖杯があるとする。けど、ならなんだって聖杯戦争なんてものをさせるんだ。聖杯があるんなら殺し合うことなんてない。それだけすごいものならみんなで分ければいいだろ
う。Yeah, everyone can share.
もっともな意見だが、そんな自由は我々にはない。聖杯を手にする者はただ一人。それは私たちが決めたのではなく、聖杯自体が決めたことだ。7人のマスターを選ぶのも、7人のサーバントを呼び出すのも、すべては聖杯自体が行うこと。
I wonder why they chose 7. Why did they choose 7 containers?
これは儀式だと言っただろう。聖杯は自らを持つにふさわしい人間を選び、彼らを競わせて、ただ一人の持ち主を選定する。それが聖杯戦争。聖杯に選ばれ、手に入れるために殺し合う恒例儀式というわけだ。
Why 7 archetype? Why 7 servant classes? Priest speaks plainly. I have no rebuttal and I look down at my left hand. There is the mark they call the command seal. It must mean that as long as I have this mark, I cannot quit being a master.
う。納得いかないな。一人だけしか選ばれないにしたって、他のマスターを殺すしかないっていうのは気に食わない。
ちょっと待って。殺すしかないっていうのは誤解よ、ヘミヤ君。別にマスターを殺す必要はないんだから。
はあ？だって殺し合いだって言ったじゃないか。琴峰もそう言ってたぞ。
殺し合いだ。
He doesn't even deny. He's like, you're gonna all kill each other.
キレイは黙ってて。あのね、この町に伝わる聖杯っていうのは霊体なの。だから物としてあるわけじゃなくて、特別な儀式で呼び出す。 つまり降霊するしかないってわけで、呼び出すことは私たち魔術師だけでもできるんだけど、これが霊体である以上私たちには触れられない。この意味わかる？
わかる。霊体には霊体しか触れられないんだろ。ああ、だからサーバントが必要なのか。
That's why the servants are there.
そういうこと。ぶっちゃけた話、聖杯戦争っていうのは自分のサーバント以外のサーバントを撤去させるってことよ。
Man, she could have told me that earlier. Yeah, she could have. She tells you, like, oh, you just have to kill everyone. No big deal. Honestly, Tosuka and this priest were being mean. They were being. I don't know why she didn't explain that to him, knowing his temperament at all. Now, I'm relieved. Even if we enter this Holy Grail War, Tosuka's not gonna die. That's good.
なるほど。そういう考えもできるか。ではエミヤシロ、一つ尋ねるが、君は自分のサーバントを倒せると思うか？
Beat Saber? Impossible. In the first place, magic is useless against her, and she's skilled with her sword.
ではもう一つ尋ねよう。つまらぬ問いだが、君は自分がサーバントより優れていると思えるか？
What's he saying? I can't beat Saber, so there's no way I'm superior to her. For this question, my answer will always be that I'm weaker than my servant, so... Ah, I think he gets it now.
そういうことだ。サーバントはサーバントをもってしても破りがたい。ならばどうするか。
Can't beat a servant?
実に単純な話だろう。サーバントはマスターがいなければ存在できぬ。いかにサーバントが強力であろうと、マスターが潰されれば、そのサーバントも消滅する。ならば。
Well, if you can't kill the servant, kill what sustains their existence. Good plan. It's a natural solution. No one would choose to take the hard way. If you want to win, the most effective way to kill the servants would be to kill their masters instead.
ああ、サーバントを消すためにはマスターを倒した方が早いってのは分かった。けどそれじゃ逆にサーバントが先にやられたらマスターはマスターでなくなるのか。聖杯に触れられるのはサーバントだけなんだろう。ならサーバントを失ったマスターには価値がない。
いや、霊樹がある限りマスターの権利は残る。マスターとはサーバントと契約できる魔術師のことだ。霊樹があるうちはいくらでもサーバントと契約できる。
Right, as long as they exist, they're a
サーバン
threat.
トはすぐに消えるわけではない。彼らは体内の魔力が尽きるまでは現世にとどまれる。そういったマスターを失ったサーバントがいれば、サーバントを失ったマスターとて再契約が可能となる。
Anyone
戦
who's
線復帰ができるというわけだ。
anyone who's still alive can reform a contract, get back into the fight, beat
だ
us.
からこそ、マスターはマスターを殺すのだ。下手に生かしておけば、新たな障害になる可能性があるからな。
じゃあ霊樹を使い切ったら、そうすれば他のサーバントと契約できないし、自由になったサーバントも他のマスターとくっつくだろう。
Good option. Can I not just get out of
そ
it?
れは
それはその通りだ。霊樹さえ使い切ってしまえば、マスターの責務からは解放されるな。もっとも、強力な魔術を行える霊樹を無駄に使うなどという魔術師がいるとは思えないが。
The number of people who have wasted command spells on inane bullshit, such as take my advice more generally, or win everything, is too high to count. Even frivolous shit like don't do that. I don't know. I'm sure there's someone who's like don't eat pickles or something like that. Yeah, I said pickles.
いたとしたら、そいつは半人前どころか、ただのふぬけということだろう。
I feel like this is the wrong approach for Kiyomi to take when trying to goad Shiro into the fight. Priest laughs as he knows what I'm thinking about. Yeah, just waste all the command spells. Get out of the fight. I'm annoyed. That priest is making fun of me. I think he's trying to provoke me. His tone of voice pisses me off.
納得がいったか。ならばルールの説明はここまでだ。さて、それでは初めに戻ろうエミヤシロ。君はマスターになったつもりはないと言ったが、それは今でも同じなのか。マスターを放棄するというのならそれもよかろう。君が今考えた通り、レイジを使い切ってセーバーとの契約を立てばよい。その場合、聖杯戦争が終わるまで、君の安全は私が保証する。
ちょっと待った。なんだってあんたに安全を保証されなくちゃいけないんだ。自分の身ぐらい自分で守る。
私とて、お前に構うほど暇ではない。だがこれも決まりでな。
Imagine trusting this guy with your life.
私は繰り返される聖杯戦争を監督するために派遣された。故に、聖杯戦争による犠牲は最小限にとどめなくてはならないのだ。マスターで亡くなった魔術師を保護するのは、監督役として最優先事項なのだよ。
繰り返される聖杯戦争。
Hold on. Repeating, does he mean this kind of battle's happened many times before?
それどういうことだよ。聖杯戦争っていうのは今に始まったことじゃないのか。
無論だ。でなければ監督役などというものが派遣されると思うか。
Yeah, why need a supervisor if it's a new and
こ
secret
の
thing?
教会は生異物を回収する任を帯びる特務局の末端でな。本来は聖十字の調査回収を旨とするが、ここでは聖杯の査定の任を帯びている。極東の地に観測された第726聖杯を調査し、これが正しいものであるのなら回収し、そうでなければ否定しろとな。
Identify and recover the Holy Grail is his mission.
726って、聖杯ってのはそんなにたくさんあるのか。
さあ、少なくともらしきものならばそれだけの数があったということだろう。
Doesn't mean they're the real thing. Just
そ
that
して
there's
その
been
中の一つ
that
が
many
この
investigations.
町で観測される聖杯であり、聖杯戦争だ。記録では200年ほど前が一度目の戦いになっている。以後、約50年周期でマスターたちの戦いは繰り返されている。聖杯戦争はこれで5度目。前回が10年前であるから。
正気かお前ら。こんなことを今まで4度も続けてきたって。
Yep. They just like doing this.
同感だ。お前の言う通り、連中はこんなことを何度も繰り返してきたのだよ。そう、過去繰り返された聖杯戦争は、ことごとく苛烈を極めてきた。
But we got
マ
structure
スタ
now.
ーたちは斧が欲望に突き動かされ、魔術師としての教えを忘れ、ただ無差別に殺し合いを行った。
I don't know how people screwed up this
君
ritual
も
so
知ってい
badly.
ると思うが、
That's what
魔
it
術
is.
師にとって魔術を一般社会で使用することは第一の罪悪だ。だが、過去のマスターたちはそれを破った。魔術協会は彼らを戒めるために監督役を派遣したが、それが間に合ったのは3度目の聖杯戦争でな。その時に派遣されたのが私の父というわけだが、納得がいったか少年。
ああ、監督役が必要な理由は分かった。
Ostensibly to reduce civilian casualties.
今の
Or
話から
casualties
する
in
と、
general.
この聖杯戦争っていうのはとんでもなくタチが悪いものなんじゃないのか。
ほう。たちが悪いとはどのあたりだ。
だって以前のマスターたちは魔術師のルールを破るような奴らだったんだろ。なら仮に聖杯があるとして、最後まで勝ち残った奴が 聖杯を私利私欲で使うようなやつだったらどうする？平気で人を殺すようなやつにそんなものが渡ったらまずいだろう。
That is a concern.
魔術師を監視するのが教会の仕事なら、あんたはそういうやつを罰するべきじゃないのか？
Seems he's taking a more passive approach than Shiro, though. It's just, we'll act if he does anything stupid. I question with little hope. Are you gonna stop people if they, like, do crazy shit with the grail, you know? You're just gonna let people take it? What if they're a murderer? As I expected, though, Kotomini Kire laughs.
まさか私利私欲で動かぬ魔術師などおるまい。我々が管理するのは聖杯戦争の決まりだけだ。その後のことなど知らん。どのような人格が聖杯を手に入れようが、教会は関与しない。
Yeah, they just care about the grail and whether it exists, not about the temperament of the person who gets it.
じゃあ聖杯を手に入れたマスターが最悪なやつだったらどうするんだよ。
困るな。だが私たちではどうしようもない。持ち主を選ぶのは聖杯だ。そして聖杯に選ばれたマスターを止める力など私たちにはない。何しろ望みを叶える杯だ。手に入れたものはやりたい放題だろうさ。しかし
Fair.
それが嫌だというのならお前が勝ち残ればいい。他人を当てにするよりはその方が何よりも確実だろう。
This is a much better way to goad Shiro into fighting. You're like, yeah, but it's not our job to stop people. We just let them get the grail, you know? We want to prove it exists. Now Kotomini is trying to hold back his laughter as he knows he's goading us into a fight. It's like he's enjoying my clumsy inability to accept the facts.
どうした少年。今のはいいアイデアだと思うのだが。
そんなの余計なお世話だ。第一、俺には戦う理由がない。聖杯なんてものに興味はないし、マスターなんて言われても実感が湧かない。
ほう。では聖杯を手に入れた人間が何をするか、それによって最悪が起きたとしても興味はないのだな。
それは。
I can't answer that question. His words are violent. They force the truth onto me, whether I want them or not.
理由がないのならそれも結構。ならば、10年前の出来事にも、お前は関心を持たないのだな。
There you go, you hit his weak point. Hit Shiro's weak point for massive
そう
damage.
だ。前回の聖杯戦争の最後にな。ふさわしくないマスターが聖杯に触れた。そのマスターが何を望んでいたかは知らん。我々にわかるのは、その時に残された災害の爪痕だけだ。
Yeah, that fire. For an instant, the image of hell flashes in my head.
待ってくれ。まさか、それは。
そうだ。この町に住む者なら誰もが知っている出来事だよ。エミヤシロ。死傷者500名。焼け落ちた建物は実に134棟。未だもって原因不明とされるあの火災こそが聖杯戦争による爪痕だ。
Just wait for the next one. Could be worse. I feel sick. My vision blurs. I lose concentration and can't focus my eyes. My body stumbles. But I hold myself firm. I hold on to consciousness by clenching my teeth. I hold back my nausea with the anger boiling up in me.
エミヤくん、どうしたのよ。いきなり顔面真っ白にしちゃって。そりゃあんまり気持ちのいい話じゃなかったけど、ほら、なんなら少し休んだりする？
I must have looked terrible. I think it's very rare for Tosuka to be worried like that.
心配無用だ。遠坂の変な顔を見たら治った。
That's her, surprised / irritated face. Yeah, we'll go with that.
それどういう意味よ？
いや、タイはないんだ。 言葉通りの意味だから気にするな。
I meant it literally, so don't worry about it. How does that make it any better?
ならいいけどって余計にやるじゃないこのド変僕。
School's #1 honor student, Tosca Rin, smacks me in the head. That does it. With that, the nausea and anger go away.
サンキュー。本当に助かったからあんまりいじめないでくれ、トサカ。今はもう少し聞かなくちゃいけないことがある。
She looks like she hasn't hit me enough, but she still lets me continue.
ほう、まだ質問があるのか。いいぞ。言いたいことは全て言ってしまえ。
You should know what I want to ask, but he asks me to go on. Fine. Emiya Shiro won't lose to you.
じゃあ聞く。あんた、聖杯戦争は今回が5回目だって言ったな。なら、今まで聖杯を手に入れた奴はいるのか。
当然だろう。そう毎回全滅などという決めは起きん。
じゃあ
早まるな。手に入れるだけならば簡単だ。何しろ聖杯自体はこの教会で管理している。手に取るだけならば私は毎日触れているぞ。
Things taken out of context. If you speak of touching it, you speak of just touching it. I touch it every day. Eh? The Holy Grail is at this church.
もっともそれは器だけだ。中身が空なのだよ。先ほどリンが言っただろう。聖杯とは霊体だと。この教会に保管してあるのは極めて精巧に作られた聖杯のレプリカだ。これを触媒にして本物の聖杯を降霊させ、願いを叶える杯にする。そうだな。マスターとサーバントの関係に近いか。なあ、そうやって一時的に本物となった聖杯を手にした男は確かにいた。
じゃあ聖杯は本物だったのか。あ、いや、手にしたっていうそいつは一体どうなったんだ。
どうにもならん。その聖杯は完成には至らなかった。バカな男がつまらぬ干渉に流された結果だよ。
The previous pressure gone, the priest narrows his eyes as if in regret. But that other
どう
guy.
いうことだ。聖杯は現れたんじゃないのか。
聖杯を表すだけならば簡単だ。7人のサーバントが揃い、時間が経てば聖杯は現れる。リンの言う通り、確かに他のマスターを殺める必要などないのだ。だがそれでは聖杯は完成しない。あれは自らを得るにふさわしい持ち主を選ぶ。故に、戦いを回避した男には聖杯など手に入らなかった。
あ、要するに他のマスターと決着をつけずに聖杯を手に入れても無意味ってことでしょ。前回一番初めに聖杯を手に入れたマスターはアマちゃんだったのよ。敵のマスターとは戦いたくないなんて言って聖杯から逃げたんだから。
So saying, Tosuga looks away from Kotomine. The other master was a coward, apparently.
嘘。
Does that mean Kotomine was one of the masters in the last war? He retired because he refused to fight in spite of obtaining the Holy Grail?
琴峰。あんた戦わなかったのか。
途中まで戦いはした。だが判断を間違えた。結果として私は空の聖杯を手にしただけだ。もっとも私ではそれが限界だったろう。何しろ他のマスターたちはどいつもこいつも化け物揃いだったからな。思えば監督役の息子がマスターに選ばれるなど、その時点であってはならぬことだったのだ。
You don't say. Maybe you could have, not appointed him as the supervisor? You ever thought about that? No nepotism? No?
父はその折に亡くなっ 以後、私は監督役を引き継ぎ、この教会で聖杯を守っている。
Saying that, the priest called Kotomi Akire turns around. Before him stands the symbol of worship.
話はここまでだ。聖杯を手にする資格がある者は、サーバントを従えたマスターのみ。君たち7人が最後の一人となった時、聖杯はおのずと勝者のもとに現れよう。その戦い、聖杯戦争に参加するかの意思をここで決めよう。
The priest requests my final decision. I'm at a loss for words. I had no reason to fight until just now. Yeah, stopping the fire is a good motivation. Stopping another disaster like that. When that's our first... we finally have our motivation for Shiro to participate. Instead of being dragged around like we have been for the last bit of the story, now we want to do something. They're doing a great job giving us a motivation, as they've tied the Grail War directly into our character's backstory. Like, the first thing we knew about him, about the fire. Now, it's a personal fight to stop something like that from happening again. And it's important to Shiro because he's already been through that nightmare. Now he has a will and a reason to fight. Can I really accept that?
まだ迷っているのか。いいか。マスターというものはなろうとしてなれるものではない。そこにいるリンは長く魔術師として修練してきたが、だからといってマスターになるのが決定されていたわけではないのだ。決定されていたものがあるとすれば、それは心構えができていたかいないかだけだろう。マスターに選ばれるのは魔術師だけだ。魔術師ならばとうに覚悟などできていよう。それがないというのならば仕方があるまい。お前も、お前を育てた師も出来損ないだ。そんな魔術師に戦われても迷惑だからな。今ここでレイジを消してしまえ。
He doesn't need to ask. Decide exactly what we're going to do in a couple of days. Thanks so much for watching. I think it's time for me to go to bed. I've had fun. We got through a little bit less than I wanted to today. But we'll make our decision and find out what the results and consequences of such things are in the next part. If you're watching this live, that will be 2 days from now. Same-ish time. Well, we started the same-ish time. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great night. It's been fun hanging out with you all. Bye now.